Yeah, welcome to our top 8 Megadraft for Phyrexia All Will Be One League. I'm here with Caleb, who's taken a break from making top 8s to come and join me here today to discuss the picks and players. And we're looking at Cody-Rayce's draft.
It's good to be here, Richard. Thank you for having me on the camera.
Yeah, so we are starting with a pack here of Kamigawa. So because thanks to our noble Mirren, Justin, who was the only player to end up not completed, he got to choose a pack other than Phyrexia All Will Be One to enter into the draft, and he chose Kamigawa. He had some, a lot of success opening it. So we get to see this, and then the rest of the draft, as the Phyrexians intended, will be Phyrexia All Will Be One. So
So this is
what do we like from this
already
pack? It's a pretty powerful pack.
so this is already an extremely interesting dynamic that is going to come up here. If you looked at the top 8 decks from the league, exactly 0 islands were played in those decks. People took a look at Phyrexia All One and said, you know what, blue in this color combination, regardless of what Ben has said on that podcast at one time, is garbage. And we've proven it by having a bunch of people play a lot of games.
Yeah.
And so here we are in a pack of Kamigawa, the one pack of Kamigawa, and the best card by far is the Beholden Multiverse.
Behold the
In a
Unspeakable, yeah.
Behold the Unspeakable, thank you. In a pack of Neo, you just windmill slam it. But here, how likely do you think you are to want to play blue cards? And Cody said it's powerful enough, he's going to go ahead and take it anyways.
Yeah, I mean, somebody has to draft blue. We're in a draft today, so what'll be interesting is to see what synergies we can carry over from Kamigawa, because Phyrexia will be one very high on synergy. Kamigawa, some decks had synergy, other decks were just powerful value loops. So it'll be interesting to see what synergies you can find. The obvious one is artifacts, but there's a couple other things going on. There is cards that care about modified will work with creatures with oil counters, and creatures in Kamigawa that get +1 counters will work with proliferate. So there's things you could do. What are we thinking about here for his second pick, or what's he thinking about?
Well, if he's looking at the blue cards in the pack, um, they are not all that impressive, and it looks like he's indeed sort of going with the Twisted Embrace, just a solid removal. Like Keep a Reckoner raid may be comparable in power level in the set, but probably more of that was based on synergies where you pick it up with your ninjas and replay the thing.
Yeah, and you could
Whereas
just get a
Twisted
bunch of them
Embrace,
too. You can get a bunch of them, and it was just a lot of life being swung.
yeah, the flip side text about giving vehicles menace also substantially less likely to come up in
Yeah. All right. So here's a pack with Kamigawa, sort of one of the all-star commons, Season of Renewal, but probably not gonna not gonna be an all-star in this format. A much weaker pack than the other ones we've seen here.
Yeah, this
So
is the number of cards which had, which were powerful in the red decks. Like
yeah,
Geothermal Kami would loop you things. There were
yeah,
experimental synthesizer decks. There were decks that wanted to play that for sure. Reinforced Ronin with that uncommon that sort of gave everything pseudo madness was a nice one
yeah,
because you cycle it, play it, pick it back up. But yeah, here Cody's just going to go with it looks like the Moon Circuit Hacker
yeah.
and
I'd have an eye on the
perfectly.
land as well, but yeah, Moon Circuit Hacker is a nice 2-drop here. So
Yeah, I think given that most of the Mega Draft is going to be for Phyrexia All Be One, you don't think you're going to get the fixing across all of the packs in the same way you would in some of our other Mega Draft formats.
exactly, yeah. Well, I imagine there'll be less splashing than we normally see in a Mega Draft, and here's a great blue card to follow up here. Modern Age probably was the best, if not very close to the best blue common in the set. So
Yeah,
that's a nice one to see.
Nazumi, which is probably the other card in a comparable power level, again, going to be harder to make happen, I would expect, in the LB1 context, just because you've got your artifacts taken care of because you're playing white, black, you've got a bunch of lights, but enchantment's going to be harder to come by. Whereas the modern age probably more standalone valuable. And it looks like, do you think from seeing that there that some of the drafters passing to Cody are being reluctant to go into blue?
It could very well be. I mean, I think if Phyrexia will be one, blue is playable. It's not unplayable in draft, but an average blue deck is going to be a lot worse than an average version of any other deck, and I could see people wanting to stray away from it. I mean, it's still early in the draft, so there could have very well just been 3 cards that were more powerful than Modern Age in the pack. But we might see players drafting with preferences. We've seen that before. in the mega drafts. And this one is actually sort of more of a known meta than really any other mega draft aside from the one which had 6 packs of Eldraine.
Well, if you weren't thinking that way before, seeing this pack is likely to put you more in that mindset. Not only is there another Modern Age, but there's a blue rare, which is a bit questionable, and Mobilizer Mech, which, how good is, remind me what Mobilizer Mech does, that crews another vehicle?
Yeah, it'll give you a free crew on another vehicle, so not really where it's at, but I mean, I'd be
looks like you're into the Modern Age, though.
I'd be very happy about the beginning of this draft. Like, I'd be extremely pleased with seeing 2 back-to-back Modern Ages.
So if you just get fed blue cards for 1 pack in Neo, does that make up for having to play blue cards from the all will be 1 packs? I guess Cody's betting that it will.
I mean, hopefully he's he's on sort of my side of the fence where I say, I'm okay drafting blue. I had a lot of success drafting blue. You do have to draft, with certain things in mind of how some of the decks work. But it's going to be interesting to see how players draft with more packs of 1. Like, I know from the Eldraine draft, because I was playing in it, if you sort of latch onto an archetype that maybe other people won't want, like a lot of the commons, you could get like 3, 4, 5 copies of even. Like if you figure out a lane that's open. So that's like not something that we haven't seen in other mega drafts except for that one. So not too.
So what are the blue cards? Yeah. What are the blue cards in all will be 1 that you would be hoping to get a playset of out of the common slot?
I mean, depending on your deck, Ichor Synthesizer is a good one. Gitaxian Raptor. Those are 2 of the big ones that I like. There's other good blue cards too. So
And those do seem like they go well in a deck where right now he's already got a bunch of creatures, sort of with flying, right? With the Modern Age flips, the whole Unspeakable flips.
Yeah, so looks like he's going for the Arm Guard Familiar here over the Crab. They have like Crab, like more powerful card, obviously, but just very clunky, expensive Arm Guard Familiar. I think
he's going with the Crab
there at the last minute, which, like I said, the cards are pretty close to even. I mean, Crab obviously has more powerful text, but comes with a mana cost that's higher.
So now we're at an interesting spot where the blue card in this pack is fairly niche, Planar Incision. And he's got like Careful Cultivation as just the channel mode is a reasonable card to play. Scrapyard Steelbreaker actually, I think, would be better in our 1 heavy context because you've got all these mites running around. You can go to it. But it looks like he's highlighting the You Are Already Dead, which, again, seems like it goes pretty well with a bunch of mites.
I would find the Planar Incision to be much more interesting paired with the 1 cards, I think. I would find it much...
What are you hoping to hit with it?
Well, any artifact. I mean, it hits artifacts or creatures, so... if you end up with Eye of Malcator, you can blink that and kill,
It looks like we're all wrong there, because he's picked up the Roadside Reliquary out of that pack.
Yeah, you can also reset for Mirrodin equipments, but if he's in blue, that they don't really have access to that, except for...
And that's a fair point about my talking about the mites. If you're in blue, you've got not all that many. You don't really have a
He went for the Roadside Reliquary. He already has like 5 enchantments, so, he feels... with a mana base with a lot of, you're going to have a lot of lands in your deck. It's a pretty free inclusion there, as long as you stick to 2 colors.
Very surprised that Mukutai Soul Rippers made it this far around. Like, that card does kill people pretty quickly, right? Like, you play it on turn 2, and then it attack for 5, and then 6.
You have to sack
things. Turn after.
You have to sack things.
Yeah, you have to sack things.
I mean, he said all.
You don't have to sack things. It is a May.
Yeah. He said I'll go for it. He said I'm interested now.
I think I would agree with that choice.
I mean, Upriser Renegade, not great in Kamigawa, but imagine that in an oil deck. Gets +2/+0 for each other
modified creature. Yeah, that's true. Oil counters will count as modified.
That would be that might be.
That'd be funny if the combination format here was the place where red modified and blue all will be 1 cards managed to both be playable for the first time in a while.
Yeah, so he looks like he's not interested in the blue cards or even the Brute Suit, which is an okay card. Bamboo Grove Archer has high upside. He only has one black card, so he's still open to just about anything. Harmonious, oh, he has the two black cards, but yeah, Bamboo Grove Archer, decent upside. He was looking there at the Harmonious Emergence, which was a good performer in that set.
Yeah, it's just big. Uh,
Yeah, there's been a lot of cards in the past that looked like that and had similar text and were not good, which is why I think it took a while for people to come around to that. But the
I think it's
combo
the
of
vigilance.
vigilance and 4/5 just being huge was
Oh, this is a gift for him here this late geothermal con. I think people valuing it less given the context makes sense to me. But he's got already so many good combinations with it. Like you pick up a Behold the Unspeakable once, and you've probably won most games in which that interaction happens.
Yeah, he has 3 sagas he could reset. With the current way his deck is going, it's unlikely to pick up a Twisted Embrace, but which would probably be the most desirable thing. I mean, Short Circuit is okay interaction. I mean, it is not terrible at all, but not that interesting either.
Yeah, these cards we're at the point where they're frankly unlikely to make anyone's deck.
Yeah, well, I mean, I could see Short Circuit making it in certain decks, but you'd prefer not to play it, I think, in most cases.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, here's a couple cards that aren't gonna see play.
Dramatist, no one's valuing the Dramatist Puppet oil counter combination.
Oh, there you go. You can put oil. That is true.
Or take off oil off of your opponent's stuff.
I think it just says put another counter.
I think you can remove one, can't it?
I think that was the camel from Amonkhet that had similar text.
I've got it in front of me. It does say put another counter or remove one.
Or remove. Oh, there you go. Perfect.
Well, if it ever comes, I doubt it'll happen, but it does. I'll feel good about it. And here's that Armguard familiar he picked the crab over that's made its way back home.
Yeah, I mean cards. It's like kind of the definition of filler. All right, so off to Phyrexial Obi-Wan here. So, well, there's an easy pick. Doesn't have to think too much about that.
Yeah, that's a bit of a gift for whoever opened it. Yeah, and it looks like Cody's going to slam at home.
Yeah, so now we're really going to see players actually start to draft decks now that we're through sort of this one-off Kamigawa pack. So we'll see people really starting to get their strategies here. And there's some good cards here.
If I look around at what people are drafting around Cody, we've got Jesse, who's primarily white-black, and Raphael, who looks like he's into the Teamer colors, just based on what's in his main board. Okay. And from the other direction, Pierre-Marc is pretty firmly into green-white, and Trevor is into red-white. So he's not the only person drafting blue at the table, but out of his immediate neighbors, only one even has any blue cards in their main board right now.
Yeah, he definitely won't be the only one drafting blue, but one strategy we have seen, or not strategy, but one thing we have seen with Megadrafts is often the person who wins the Megadraft, they have found like at least one of their colors to be pretty wide open. Yeah. Like usually only one other person at the table is drafting it, and they just get the lion's share of that color. We've seen.
And already here, this is a pretty wild, this is a pretty stacked pack here. Just Drowned-Nicker, Edifice, Herbgrass Forge. Raphael being in green-white took a Planer's Disruption over those cards, which is a fine card, but to me that feels like an artifact of what would be a slightly early commitment to a color pair to me.
Yeah, so what do you think of Drowned-Nicker here over potentially the Herbgrass Forge?
Ooh, I think I would just take the Herbgrass Forge. Even if you're taking a black card, I'm not convinced that Edifice isn't better. But I would still just take the powerful card and work out the details later. Like you're one pack in.
Yeah, he says I'm going to go for this Drowned-Nicker. It's always going to do what it says it does. Forge, if you're behind, it's not a good top deck.
The next person playing red is the next person playing red that it would get to is all the way to Raphael. So that Forge would get passed by 1, 2, 3, 4 people potentially. That's
somebody's going to grab it and try and with the intention of playing it. So here we got another pack. You could go for another removal here, Anoint with Affliction. Atraxis Skitterfang was just always a high performer in this format.
Oh yeah, couldn't get enough of them.
Looks like he's gonna lean towards a removal here, though. Anoint with Affliction. There's just a really rich vein of good efficient removal getting opened here, and
That's hard to turn down in any context.
Yeah, I imagine he's thinking, look, I have a lot of blue cards. Blue is notably weak in this set. I need to be able to interact. I need to get my removal now, and I can get my curve fillers and my other stuff later. If I'm going to be blue, I need to have this removal because the power level of my cards is going to be lower overall. So I can understand this.
Yeah, and not just weak in the set, but hysterically weak in the packs we've seen so far. Like, has there even been a blue card that if you were in like pack 3 of normal draft and you knew you were in blue, you would consider taking?
But there was a mesmerizing dose in the second pack. So
okay, so not a total calamity here.
No, he saw mesmerizing dose in the pack with the Urbask Forge and Drowning Acre. So
I see.
I think Nimrazor Paladin looks pretty good here.
Yeah, it looks like, by the way, that Urbask Forge made its way to Jesse before he just said, "What is everyone next to me doing? I'm just going to take this."
Yeah,
now he's in a spot where he's got his white-black deck with this red card in it, and the signal that people passing to him from the right are not interested in drafting red cards. So I'm sure he's sitting there wondering what the hell's going on.
Yeah, normally you can wait quite a bit in the Mega Drafts to commit. I think with the fact that it's all Phyrexia packs, people are going to be committing quite a bit earlier than they normally do.
The Nimrazor Paladin there for Cody. A great black value card that also, toxic them up a bit sometimes.
I really like Tamiyo as a mobilizer. I mean, it's just effectively, when done right, which is not that hard to do, it's essentially like an icy manipulator.
Yeah, he's got one or two proliferators, I think, thus far, the Drowning Acre being the only one, actually. But you can sort of get those given, there's 4 more packs of all B1 to go.
Well, Dramatist Puppet. Does that work? Or does it only target creatures?
Oh, yeah. How can we forget the Dramatist?
Does it only target creatures, or will it work?
I believe it says permanent.
Okay.
Yeah. So it could even take a counter off a battle in the next set.
But it can't remove a poison counter from yourself.
No, you are not a permanent.
I don't know. I look pretty permanent last time I checked. All right, so looking at there's like a divination here. There's the black 6-drop, which I think it had its time and place in the format. I think people came
How did you feel about the 2/5 that you can have you to be tapped in order to proliferate? Was that one of the playable blue cards for you?
I was not really after that card very, very highly. The Meldweb Curator is a card that I think I came around to right at the end of the draft format and sort of played a couple times, but it looks pretty poor. But the body was nice. The 3/4 was nice.
Yeah, toughness, certainly for defensive decks in LB1, toughness was the key stat, as is often the case, but even more so now, just because of the prevalence of all the 1/1s running around.
Yeah.
Like sometimes, a 3/1 or a 4/2 on defense can trade up, but there weren't, the aggressive creatures were like 2/2 first strikers.
Yeah, well, that's why I said Gitaxian Raptor was a good one, because often, like, it would trade even through combat tricks, like, a lot of the time. I mean, obviously there were combat tricks that it didn't trade through, but a lot of the combat tricks that people played, it still traded, so.
He's having the Atmosphere Surge in here.
Yeah, so Atmosphere Surgeon versus, like, I guess a Blight Belly Rat is, like, sort of, that was like a bread and butter black 2-drop.
Yeah, it's a shame how many of those blue cards weren't really playable. Like Font of Progress, you're not really getting there in a 60-card format. Proliferaries is your...
I mean, Experimental Augury is kind of where you want to be with blue.
It can
also speed up his sagas at instant speed, which is kind of cool.
That's a cute interaction. Yeah, actually. Yeah. You start, like, you ambush flip a Modern Age or something. That's actually kind of tight.
Yeah, or, God forbid for the opponent, behold the unspeakable at instant speed.
There's a path not taken here for somebody to get into red, with like Churning Reservoir being a card you wanted to run. And
yeah, normally like build arounds just don't ever happen in the Mega Draft because you only have one pack of any given set. But here, everyone's free to build around because we have 5 packs, so you do actually get to make use of all the cards in the set. I think that has been a complaint of people like about the normal Mega Draft format is that you just cut off a significant amount of the cards in a pack because they don't work outside of their set. So here we get
Yeah, I remember Megadrafting Kaldheim a couple of times, and
right. So he's taking
it being a
Muir
pretty rough
Kinsmith
experience.
over like a couple of like reasonable cards.
I would up actually thinking that card was playable. Like there were decks where you just sort of traded one for one a lot, and then you sort of outvalued instead of playing like draw spells or whatever. You just had in your 4-drop slot like 3 or 4 Kinsmiths.
Yeah.
It was sort of like the discount version of that green card that spat out 3/3s, where like once you have avoided dying, this will eventually win you the game. The trouble is that only required you to play one card, and this requires you to play 3 or 4. So the green one was substantially better, but it would do in a pinch.
But also in this set with 5 packs, and that being a card that basically people aren't going to want, you can get 5 of them. I mean, once you have 5,
you could, but did you really like? I'm not sure you really wanted all 5. Like
we'll see.
You are still playing a 4-mana 3/1.
Yeah, we'll see.
In a set that's pretty hostile to X1s.
He's got a land here. That's a nice one.
Yeah, I think you're going to be more likely to play those tap sack lands. Wow, those tap sack lands in this format than you were in the draft, just because the pressure is going to be a tad slower, I would expect, because the decks are going to be a little bit larger and harder to get the critical mass of aggressive creatures.
Yeah, Quicksilver Fisher was kind of a head scratcher in Phyrexian 1, because if you told me before the set there's going to be a 5-mana 4-power flyer at common with upside, I would have been like, oh, that's got to be one of the best commons, at least in its color, if not like competing for best, one of the best commons in the set. And it was like a card that you could almost never put in your deck.
I remember that being
blue was defensive. You had to defend yourself.
I remember that being kind of one of the Van Ness's points was that's drafting that card as a mistake.
But like we don't get 5-mana 4-power flyers at common like ever, especially not with an upside.
It's the toughest. Like if that card were a 3/4, I think it would have been playable.
So looking here, I think the cards he would be imagining wanting to take, Annihilating Glare would be up there. Mere Convert seems the most interesting to me.
Yeah, I know people were sort of lower on that card by the end of the format, but I still think it is good.
I was pretty high on it. I would pick that pretty early, honestly.
I know you were. Were you not hearing the whole Dude Mover is better argument that people were making?
I'm still not sure about that, but they're
I'm not sure I quite fought it out. People were willing to say that, so that's got to imply something. Taking a look across the table here, we've got starting at Cody and going rightwards. Pierremark is still firmly in green-white. Trevor is into Boros. Pigeon is looking at a mix of Mardu cards and probably wondering what he's going to do. Ryan is pretty much all over the place. Jordan is into sort of green-black with a Nissa as a spicy one.
Ooh,
Raphael has actually moved into red. He's got a ton of red cards and he's looking for a second color right now.
Yeah.
And Jesse is still probably in black-white, but he's got the forage in there just as a potential splash, it looks like.
We'll have a chance to look at all the pools after, and then we'll see a lot of the decks in action. So he's got Filigree Silex, which was a card that was sort of an on and off card. Like when it was good, it was real good, and then when it was bad, it just was a card that did nothing. So I don't see what else he would really want to take here if he's staying with his colors.
There's definitely, blue cards that are begrudgingly playable here, but nothing you're all that excited about. And the same goes for black, to be honest. There's literally only the one black card. So this does sort of seem like if you were trying to splash, you take the Prism. If not, you take the Silex and see what you can do with it maybe later.
I didn't pick Silex highly, but neither did other people. So I ended up with it a few times, and I always min-decked it and found something to do with it. There's a raptor.
Is there which raptor? Oh, the
Gitaxian raptor. Yes. Not the Flensing raptor, but yeah. Gitenza, that's gotta be a real happy pick for him here.
Oh yeah, I think he's
it blocks, it defends itself, and once you do, once it is time to start attacking, it can, with enough proliferate, it can be a high power attacker. So that's a nice one. So yeah, looks like you went around the table. Looks like blue is here for the taking, pretty much.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just filling out who's in what colors here.
Yeah. Staff of Completion.
Ooh,
He's
did
highlighted it
you?
immediately. I'm not sure if he is doing that
I think he's
facetiously or
reading
not.
the card.
I mean, it destroys
I had to
itself.
guess.
There you go. Yeah.
Well, the joke is you swap two permanents and then blow up the one you own because it says own rather than
Just
control, I guess.
sure. It's for the
Yeah,
give your
yeah.
opponent
For the
bad cards
commander
deck.
players out there.
It was a Z draw, I think.
Um,
But yeah.
but
Yeah.
no,
Augury.
looking here at the thrumming bird versus the augury here. I think when WotC was building the set, they put thrumming bird at uncommon for a reason here. I think because they imagined it would be better. But I think experience has shown, and Cody's picked uh, under the assumption that the thrumming bird isn't actually all that good. It doesn't have enough survivability to get in, and he's gone with the anticipate that proliferates
Yep.
instead.
Yeah, Throwing Bird made promises that it did not deliver on. It was just too slow. So Blade of Shared Souls is
It's a funky card.
It was kind of a personal soapbox card, right? Because it reads like a clone, but it's not. It's way worse than that, I think. But it does do some interesting things. Basically, you don't get the ETBs. You don't get the enter the battlefield trigger when you copy something because the rebel has already entered the battlefield. So I've seen many games lost or misplayed because of that fact. But it's an interesting card. Like I've seen people
Did it wind up in Cody's deck?
copy their 0/0 oil creature that comes in with counters, and then the token just ends up in the graveyard because.
At the end of the day, though, like the floor is pretty reasonable.
Yeah, it's
like
a cool card.
actual worst case scenario, you're playing a 3-mana 2/2.
Yeah, I just don't like that it doesn't behave like all the other cards that it looks like it is. But
The
it will
things you want to
certainly
be
be not the best sword in his deck, though. I am certain of that. All right, so he's taken the Whisper of the Dross here just as another interactive spell over the Gitaxian Raptor.
That makes a ton of sense to me. I think he's got sort of the mid range and flying threats covered, and early interaction is where his deck is sort of low right now. Like he's got Annoyant and Drown and Ichor, but Whisper of the Dross, I think.
Yeah, he's got Short Circuit
instant
also
speed proliferate
if he decides he wants to. So
yes.
Azuri's an interesting card here.
That's the one where
have quite a bit of proliferate. And,
he's
not really
I agree with the.
He's not.
I like the speculative. I like the speculative pick here. I'm not sure if he's gonna actually run it or not. Yeah, Graz, Unstoppable Juggernaut. He's freaking out about.
I think he just likes.
I think that's even a bit more speculative than Azuri would be. Just there's he can animate his sword and have it hit them, but then you don't get the sword trigger. Actually, does that even work on non-creature artifacts?
Not sure.
No, sorry. It works on just creatures. Yeah.
I mean, you could take it. I mean, Vivisurgent's Insight. I know Ben Stark dismissed it there on that episode of Limited Resource, but I almost always ended up wanting one in my blue decks.
I think you take the Graz.
Like once you stabilize, you refill your hand, you maybe get a couple oil counters. Did he take the white card there?
I think he might have misclicked the Plated Onslaught there because it's in his pool. I'm not sure he's realized.
Well, there it goes. I'm sure he'll figure it out at some point. All right, so he's got a 4-drop here. Sheoldred's Head Cleaver, kind of only for the most really dedicated of Toxic decks, but...
He scrolled down, he's put it into his sideboard, and I'm not sure if we're going to get some sort of other reaction.
Yeah, he's usually good at letting us know how he feels about things, whether appropriate or not sometimes. Yeah, so... Like I said, Head Cleaver could be a curve filler, but usually was only for the most dedicated of Toxic decks, I found.
Yeah, it's got a stat line that you want to block with, but it's a bit, comes down on turn 4 and just isn't very impactful in creature combat.
Scourge. Scourge, your Windrake of the set with...
I think we're getting into the range where these cards don't matter. I mean, like here I'd take the 2/5 over the Scourge, but I would not want to really run any of those.
Grab Trap is a playable, I would say. Absolutely.
I think he is going to take the mirror for his mirror, I guess.
Well, there's the Gulping on the way back.
Yeah, now we're going to really see how playable Scrap Trap is. Because yeah, it's playable enough to take over the meme card, which that means it's a playable.
Okay, so we're into pack 3 here, and he's got another
A bit of a
implement of
brick in it.
completion, not the staff, but the tablet this time.
Yeah, that card has a lot of words on it, and I never played it. But I don't think it really does much.
Um, yeah, for the first 2 turns it does nothing, and then it either makes mana or you build it up to start drawing cards. But
Yeah,
Taboo
it's one of those
Immobilizer
cards that
looks like a
you.
nice one.
Yeah, Immobilizer, I think, pretty clear pick over the Necrosquito.
Yeah, Chrome Prowler was also a big time player in a lot of the blue decks.
Well, that was to me. This is one of those secret blue-white gold cards where it was really only the artifact deck that wanted it. You know, like it was the only way to turn on your like Eye of Malkaders and block with them in a
Yeah,
surprise kind of way.
I had some black, like toxic decks where I played a bunch of those to get in the toxic damage, and then played blue spells
Okay,
to get the rest of the poison counters on them. But yeah, card ended up being
Immobilizer,
fine.
Immobilizer, maybe doing that job.
So he's looking here at Dune Mover maybe for a splash, but Immobilizer just such a good card. But I think
Yeah,
he's going to take the
I'd be
Dune Mover.
surprised by the Dune over here. That might be a symptom of falling in love with Azuri a bit more than I would have expected.
Yeah, I like Azuria. It says you get to draw cards for doing things, but Green Blue was like just awful in Phyrexia.
That's a
And
surprising pick for me.
okay,
Oh wow! And we're continuing this theme of red cards getting opened in this spot on the table where nobody's drafting red, and just sort of, I'm sure, causing players to experience regret.
there is the Mayhem Dominus. Yeah, so big 5/4. You can double your non-combat damage, I believe. So let's see.
Yeah, and it has that indestructible counter thing. I think if you take off, you have to remove counters. I think to make it indestructible.
I think you would discard cards for that one. But yeah. So I think.
Ah, yes.
I mean, Glare, Annihilating Glare is a good one. He's looking at the red card. Can he
Well,
go red? He's
I
wondering.
think I think here, once you sort of have committed resources to the splash, the incubation sac, I think, is a card you would absolutely splash for. Uh,
Yeah.
it's a way to sort of grind out a game. It benefits from proliferate. You don't. Costs 1 mana, but if you don't need to play it on turn 1 to have it do what it does. You play it on like turn 5 and then make a, or when you have 5 mana and then make a 3/3 for the rest of the game
Yeah.
potentially.
I think he's just going for the removal here, Annihilating Glare.
Yeah. Hmm.
Looks like he's going to.
It's not a bad card, but I think this is one of those whoa.
He switched to the
Well,
Golem at the very last moment there.
I'm not sure how many. I mean, it works with the Gataxian Raptors. That's true.
Yeah.
But
He doesn't
as I
have.
recall, he doesn't have that many creatures with oil counters
Yeah,
on
and
them,
black
especially
doesn't really
not.
do oil, aside from like there's like a couple of uncommons, I think, but it
Yeah.
mostly stays out of the oil territory. He's reading Red Sun's Twilight. I mean, that card I think was more playable than people give it credit for. But he's
Well,
just
I mean,
gonna stick with his
it's like
numbers here.
the only example of an A+ sideboard card, right? That we kind of get nowadays, where like you draft it and then main deck it if you had to, but when you got to bring it in against blue white, you just felt like you couldn't lose.
Yeah, so again, the Ichor Plague Golem a bit of a weird pick if he's going to be black because it just doesn't work with black
Yeah.
cards. I mean, he has Atmosphere Surgeon as a, but that one doesn't even enter with oil.
Interesting. Yeah, it looks like Jesse actually snagged the Mayhem Dominus,
Okay.
keeping with his theme of having random red rares to splash and kind of taking them away from Raphael sitting next to him, who's actually drafting red.
Yeah.
I think Jesse's just sort of making a stand on principle that you shouldn't allow these cards to go where they belong,
Yeah,
even if
well,
he's.
as long as he's not sacrificing actual good cards, yeah, there's value in taking cards out of the draft. Looks like
Well,
he's going to go for the Surge
actually
Snare here.
Jesse's actually got his main deck right now set up to be also blue black, which is a bit of a change. He's taken all the white cards out, I think, because it was so contested, and now he's sort of right in Cody's lane, getting passed to by Cody, who's been in blue black for longer. So it looks like Jesse. I'm not sure he's loving his spot right now in this draft.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he figured what Cody figured. Somebody's got to be blue. I might as well jump on that train I mean,
Yeah,
Cody jumped on basically as early.
Cody's already been on that train, right?
Yeah.
So what this really is
surgical skull bombs.
this is Jesse saying Cody's not drafting blue black well enough. All these good blue black cards are still making it through to me.
I'm sure he'll explain himself in our post-mortem analysis later on today after the recording.
It's timestamped this moment. Yeah, we'll come back to it.
Yeah, so surgical skull bomb looks right up his alley here.
Yeah, the skull bombs, I wanted to love them so much more, but just the sorcery speed on them just make them feel so clunky to the power. And it got to the point where the only deck I wanted them in by the end was exactly like if I had a bunch of retrofitters and was hopefully in blue-white.
Okay.
Surgical being, the one of the better ones out of that set, but I think just on power level, it probably shouldn't make most decks.
Yeah, it's the only one that actually interacts. So he's selected Urbrax Anointer here, which is a little bit of an unusual one. He really doesn't even have that many oil cards.
It's a good card, right? Like its upside is Flame Tongue Kavu.
Yeah, and I mean he could end up splashing if he wants to, but I think he's maybe regretting not being in red here.
Yeah, this is getting kind of weird now because we've got two players sitting right next to each other who are currently in blue-black but taking a couple of random red cards.
Yeah, like
this is just the worst case scenario for
he's probably thinking,
Jesse.
What would have happened if I took the Urbrax Forge and went blue-red?
And then the funny part is they're both sitting in front of Raphael, who is actually trying to be blue-red and is wondering, like, if things are so open, why aren't I getting past these good, red and blue cards? And the answer is because the two people next to you are seeing the same signals and like trying to ambitiously move in on that seat. So that's really, really working out, unfortunately, for some of these players here. It's like in the highway, everybody sees the open lane that's moving, merges into it, and it immediately grinds to a halt.
I mean, Cody doesn't have a ton of black, but his black is good, like good enough to like not wanna move from it.
What this is working out really well for are Jordan and Pierre Marc, who are both sitting sort of surrounding this group of Grixis players, all crashing into each other and drafting respectively green, white, and green, white, and green, black.
Okay.
So none of them are taking green cards, and they're just, they've found their lane and they're doing pretty okay. They're not getting deterred by all this craziness going on, and it looks like that's working out well for them thus far.
Yeah, so the Mercurial Spelldancer was kind of a card that in any other set might have been like a really, really big bomb, but it was just very slow to get going.
Well, it got tried.
But he took it.
It got tried in Legacy Delver for a while.
Wow.
And I believe was just like slightly not quite good enough to actually make the dream work. But it was, of interest to Legacy players as sort of like a Dreadhorde Arcanist type of effect, which was good enough to get actually banned in that format.
The best I've ever seen it do was in the open when my opponent took it with their Blue Sun's Twilight and then used it to copy another Blue Sun's Twilight to take two more creatures. That was the best I'd ever seen it.
Did you win that game?
Side, so after opponent took 3 creatures, not quite. best Mercurial Spelldancer of all time.
Okay, that was it. So this was an interesting pick just now where he took the Surgical Bay, the blue tap Sackland over the Necrosquito. So the Necrosquito wheel came back to him and he still doesn't want it. He'll take the Sackland over it. That
wasn't very good.
It's a strong verdict on that
I think it was supposed to be for the black-red deck, which wasn't really great in that format.
Yeah, it never quite came together with the synergy pieces.
So he did take a Kodotha Cackler over the black draw 2, lose 2 spell.
Oh man, it looks like he is serious about these red cards, and that's not going to work out well for him getting passed to the other way.
To me, like Urbrask Anointer is not a sign that he should be red, and he hasn't seen
but Meld Web Strider is a playable blue card, right?
It's a very good card at defending yourself, and can start hitting as well when you're ready to hit them with it.
Okay.
So
let's see what a draw spell bomb is actually potentially playable.
Yeah, he already has one, so I don't know if he's planning on playing 2, but he's looking over his cards.
Let's see what the future brings here, because I think there's some players who are not in a very comfortable spot that we're looking at.
Yeah, so it's interesting to see how he'll navigate these last packs, because it's still not clear what the exact direction of this deck is going to be. We know he's
what's unfortunate is Pigeon is in exactly Grixis as well. He's blue-red splashing back, so there's 4 players all contesting this fairly narrow lane.
So everybody had the same thought. Everybody said, "Hey, no one else is going to draft blue. Let me profit." But Cody, I mean, I obviously I didn't see anybody else's Kamigawa pack, but I can't imagine anybody else had a better blue pack of Kamigawa.
Well, this is the danger of the strategy we're talking about here, which is, yes, Cody is following the signal, but what the heck is Kethic Crucible?
I believe it's the black-red gold card that
that never did anything.
Too much.
Okay. Yeah, here to me, it seems like a pretty clear choice between Anoint and Ambulatory Edifice.
Yeah, I like the Edifice personally, but we'll see. Hopefully he doesn't... He might. I mean, maybe he'll be tempted by the Volt Charge here.
Oh, that would be... I mean, A, like, continuing further down the red path, I think would work out badly for him, but B, Volt Charge just was pretty well proven to be just mediocre by the end.
He's highlighted Anoint, but we've seen him also change his pick at the last moment. So, but he's looking at the Anoint here over, let's say, Edifice. It doesn't look like he's going to be getting his opponent to the Corrupted, but it's still a good early game removal.
Yeah, you never felt like you had too many of them. Card was great.
Yeah, quite good. Yeah, his interaction looks pretty strong so far. He just needs to, maybe this is him deciding, okay, these splashes are, maybe not where it's at. No, he still has time to change his mind here. Yeah. Yeah, so interesting, like we said, interesting how so many people ended up blue, probably thinking that other people wouldn't.
Yeah, the people who I think this has worked out the best for are those who sort of ironically committed early to a lane and have just sort of stuck with it. Like, if you look at some of these, just 2-color decks that people just have been drafting the whole time, they're already like looking pretty good. Like this Boros deck I'm looking at's got like 10 2-drops already. Like,
wow, okay.
These are some pretty scary decks that are going to come together. Yeah, that's Trevor's, by the way.
All right, so there's another Azuri here. I don't know how interested he is in that, but he has highlighted for now. The other blue cards here, I mean, a third Experimental Augury. Trawler Drake was, very slow if you're trying to defend yourself. But
the funny part is, I think in a vacuum, Charforger is actually a better card than Azuri.
Yeah, Charforger was just like a card you splashed in decks that weren't black red. He's enjoying the foil treatment.
The foil Charforger. Oh, jeez.
He's letting us know he likes it. Or doesn't like it.
Maybe he's just excited by foils.
Shiny things. Yeah, so here's a Hive Master. Nice 3-drop here. Picking that over, I think there was a Quicksilver Fisher on the top row. Yeah. Just nice 3-drop. Fits in the curve well. Yeah, so I don't know if there's a Rakdos player, but I don't know how many Charforgers we've seen pass through Cody in this draft, but the number is.
Well, there is a. I would say Pigeon was sort of starting out in Rakdos, but he's sort of pivoted his way into primarily blue-red with some black cards that he's splashing.
I mean, somebody could have three, if not like 4 Charforgers.
There is nobody in the Rakdos lane, but Pigeon's probably decently positioned to pivot his way back into it.
All right. Interesting.
If he so chooses.
So nothing too appealing in this pack. His Experimental Augury, the Atmosphere Surgeon. What did he grabbed something there at the last minute. I missed
He grabbed the Whisper of the Dross.
Okay, Whisper of the Dross.
Which I think makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, second copy of that. Solid card.
By the way, Necrogen Communion, a card in this pack. Did you ever see that card in play?
Yes.
I don't think I did.
It wasn't great, but...
Okay.
It was
I think I made it through the whole format without seeing it in play.
A couple times they put it on the 1/1 flyer for 2 with Toxic.
Okay.
The black flyer. Yeah,
that's kind of cute, I guess.
That was.
Did you ever see it?
What you were supposed to do with it, but
did you ever see it like play it on your creature, kill it, and thereby steal it?
No, nobody went that deep.
Oh, that's because it says enchant creature you control, so definitely can't do that.
So he took Bring the Ending here, maybe just thinking it's a bit of an interaction, but like Quench is not an amazing card. And
I think to do on turn 2 is something of a requirement in this format. But his deck's actually
He's pretty well set up to do
decently
that.
stocked on those right now,
Yeah, like
especially.
with the modern ages. It's a great turn
Yeah,
two.
he's got a mix of proactive and reactive turn two plays, but I guess you can't ever have too many of them.
So
Here,
there is a
oh
toxic
man,
player somewhere down the line that's going to be pleased
yeah.
getting one of these white cards, but not too much for him, I don't think. Here,
Instead, we get to see Cody play the game of how badly can I disrespect Necrosquito?
I think that card was not very good, but
Yeah.
I
Well, it looks
think
like Mir Kinsmith is getting taken over it, so that's got to be a real kick in the teeth for the flying bug.
yeah,
This looks like a interesting choice actually between Whisper and Listener Seer,
yeah.
and
I would
he
say
insta takes the Whisper.
yeah, I would say in our normal mega draft, something like Soulless Jailer might actually have more applications.
Really?
Well, like imagine if we had. Imagine if we had like in a Midnight Hunt and
If we had
Vowing
the, I
with
guess
all the
the flashback
with
spells,
disturbed
yeah, okay.
auras and flashback spells, it actually just shuts that down. So cool, a cool sideboard card, I guess. But yeah, he's just gonna.
Not really in this
It has no
format.
application in this format, or close to
Yeah.
no application.
Yeah, it shuts down your opponent's VAT emergence.
You know, it looks like he's just not interested in a 4/4 flyer for 6 here.
Oh no, that's born out of the experience of having played the format more than a couple times.
Yeah, I played that in week 1 and then didn't.
Yep.
So Trawler Drake here might be the pick. I don't know if he has enough non-creatures to warrant it. That's a creature you do not want to copy with the Blade of Shared Souls.
No, that would not work out very well.
An opponent of mine did that once, and they hopefully didn't do it again. All right, okay. So winding down here, pack 5. So he has one more pack to go. I think he's looking for like a power level boost. Like he has he doesn't have like bombs per se. I mean the Behold the Unspeakable is good. The sword is good, but I think he would like a power level boost at the very least. So another Staff of Completion here.
Yeah, that's not going to really do it. You know what I have been seeing just looking across the table? We've only got 2 green drafters on this full board, but there's still just they have not gotten paid off. There's been
we just haven't seen
approximately 0 decent green rares opened. Just looking around. With the exception of that one Nissa.
We didn't see much of anything. Like the best green card we saw was like an incubation sack, I think.
Yeah, that's you gotta hope that. I mean, they've got one more pack, right, for luck to change, but otherwise, it might be a case of right seat, wrong day, so to speak.
Well, hopefully we see some. Oil blazing trolls in the future matches, but. Probably not, I guess, based on this description. All right, so here's Nimrazer Paladin number 2. Just a nice card.
Oh yeah, like again, a bit on the slower side, but just good enough at the value to be one of the 5 drops you do want to play in the format.
Yeah, he's drafted a nice lowish or not too high curve here, so he can afford to take a 5 drop.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. So I don't know if he wants a second Filigree Silex here.
Well, I mean, if you have 2, then you can actually laser beam them down to 20.
Oh, well, they're legendary, so...
For the low price of 20 oil counters.
Yeah, they're legendary,
all you need is 20 oil counters in play, 1 on the field, 1 in hand, and then you delete your opponent.
All right, well, one day you'll send me a screenshot of that, right?
I hope he wins a game that way.
And you'll carefully crop out the fact that it was against Sparky. All right. So,
see, this to me though is a signal that he's sort of backed off of out of his flirtation with red here, because the Urgrass Anointer was one of the red cards he was prioritizing, is certainly a stronger card than the Silex.
Yeah, I'm surprised he wasn't interested in the Testament Bearer. Here's a big win card here. I mean, like I was saying at the beginning of the pack, he could use a power level boost, and I mean, like this card has powerful words on it.
Yeah, it's certainly plenty big.
In most other formats, this would be one of like the top 10 rares probably, but because of the speed of the format, it didn't get to shine. But read the text, that card is terrifying.
What's the tools he has to splash? He's got 1 Dune Mover, 1 Mirror Convert, and that's straight it?
I believe
so. Man. I just don't know if he's done enough work.
I mean, he has like the experimental auguries and stuff, which can dig him deeper. He has like a bunch of cheap ways to see more cards.
Interesting. He's got the rest of the
Even Modern
red
Age digs
cards
you
out of
digs you 2
there.
cards deep, right?
And let's be fair, there's the best card for him in this pack would be Whisper of the Dross, and he's already got 3 of them. And they do have somewhat diminishing returns with each other.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I would 100%, be sure to play that 7-drop, but I think taking it here has to be something. Okay, he
Whoa,
grabbed
okay,
the
he's
Atmosphere
just
Searcher
throwing a
before I lost
curveball
him.
for all of us and taking
Yeah.
Atmosphere Search. I don't know if I
Yeah.
can endorse that pick personally.
Yeah, well, the fourth Whisper of the Dross is definitely not the pick, so...
That's true. Well, hey, how about the third? How about the third Azuri?
Did he take the second one?
Yeah, he's got 2 in his pool right now.
Okay.
And he's
Interesting.
saying, all those spheres are out there, and someone's got to stock them, and that person might as well be
now
me.
he should have taken that Whisper of the Dross, right? The fourth Whisper of the Dross. That's good with Azuri.
Whenever you proliferate draw a card, is a powerful line of text for his deck. Like, I could see this actually working to some good effect here.
Yeah, and I mean, clearly nobody wants this card.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is kind of the thing with our 5 packs of Phyrexia. You could get the same sort of niche rare, like multiple copies of, All right, he went against it. He took a 2.
Gladiator. Okay, see, I'm not sure how likely he is to ever corrupt his opponent, so I think he's just taking a bear.
All right, Scheming Aspirant here as a proliferate payoff, but now sort of probably wishing he took some of the proliferate cards.
Oh man, this is just, we're sort of watching someone get buffeted around by these signals coming in, and I can't say that I would have any idea what was really going on if I weren't sitting here with the ability to see everybody's pools.
Yeah. I mean, certainly blue was the place to be, and like blue-black in Phyrexia LB1 was a bit of a tough deck to play. So it didn't really have the best direction or the best payoffs.
It looks like getting past you by Jesse and Cody has convinced Raphael to get out of the business of playing blue cards. He's now firmly into just green-red, with actually 3 of Miglaw's Maze Crusher just sitting there in his pool. Yeah, 3. So,
well, that's gonna be a deck to watch for sure.
Yeah, I think he identified, right, if you remember a couple packs ago, I was talking about how there's only 2 green drafters and we weren't seeing many good rares. It looks like that Raphael sort of got the message that green was open and found a nice little niche for himself in green red.
That's what you got to do in these mega drafts. You got to find the right thing to do, and especially in this one where you have 5 packs of 1, you could really get paid off if you do find the right path.
Oh yeah, and some of it is still due to luck of the draw. Like Geth, black rare, but not the kind you want to put in your deck. He's looking at his 2 drops and seeing that it kills half of them.
Yeah, if you were highly impaired, you could probably read it enough times and then put it in your deck. But I think he'll come. I think he'll figure out it's not the way to go.
Man, I remember opening that at the pre-release and thinking I must have misread it.
Like, oh, what? You can reanimate your own creatures? What the? That's too good.
Yeah.
I mean, Testament Bearer, that's a nice one. I liked that card, but I like creatures that replace themselves, so I'm partial to that kind of thing. Yeah.
It's of the kind of, trading up on defense. Never really attacked on.
That whisper
That's a late whisper.
On. That was a whisper he passed up earlier.
And it does sort of make sense. I mean, if you look at the people passing to him, you have to go all the way back to... There's actually, people have sort of, I didn't quite realize this, there's a big sort of gap where no one's taking black cards passing to Cody until you get all the way to Jordan, basically.
I imagine that
most of the table.
Based on the overall lower power level of his deck, Azuri is probably going to be something he's going to play here. I think he just picked up enough.
If that were the case, though, he would have only have taken the 3rd. He's only got 2 out of 3 Azuris.
All right, so we have completed the drafting portion, so we will be back shortly to look at the players' pools, and then we'll be off to round 1 after that.